Hello and welcome to the Squeaky Bum Time Podcast with Michael Laurent. It is Monday, August 29th. This is a new time. In this episode, Haaland roars for City, Liverpool smashes Bournemouth while United persevere. But first, Mike, we know you're a Spurs fan, so you can give us the anti-fan view. Can Arsenal actually win the Premier League?
Yeah, maybe.
They're
no,
undefeated.
They can't. But can they? Can't they? Is a question I just sort of tire of because I hear it so much. Right? Like, I don't think I care about the prospects of what Arsenal can and can't do in May of this year relative to Liverpool and Man City. What I think is valuable for both us and for our listeners, who we love very much, is what the hell happened? How did they get to 4-0? Have they played anybody of substance? No.
No.
But how have they gotten for Gabriel Jesus?
Actually, they do. That Palace win looks a lot better, even though they did suffer. They did suffer in that game.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I was reading something about Arsenal earlier in the week, and if you'll remember, this time last year they were in the relegation zone. I think maybe
they were 0-3 and had lost and were -9.
Yes, and who was having a better time about it than I was, right?
You were, because you
fast
were
forward 6 months, and the questions then we covered it was the exact polar opposite is, can Arsenal get relegated? That question is as ridiculous as can Arsenal win the league, just to be clear, right? But they're also completely meaningless because Arsenal went on a little bit of a run and no, they were never going to get relegated. The question was, could they recover and get to a top 4 spot? The answer was also yes to that, but they gave it away at the end of the season, right? And so the difference that I find when they're, 4-4 and having 12 points in the bag already is that is a leg up for what inevitable slide that they will go on. And it's not an Arsenal meme. It's every team has, valleys, peaks and valleys. And I'm not happy about it as a Spurs fan, but good for them. They're beating the teams they're supposed to beat. And for the first time this season, Fulham punched them in the mouth. And they got right up off the mat, wiped the blood from their cheek, and they hit back. So good on them. Absolutely deserving.
Yeah, I think that's the part I want to hit on is that mentality piece. Chari in our chat that we're trying to. By the way, we have a WhatsApp chat. We'll put it into the link and try and get more people in. We want to have the conversations that we have between each other for the show with everybody. We got a handful of people: John, Manny, Alex, just people who we know you listen to the show, but you can talk shit with us anyway. And John's been adding friends of his that are in the football community, so we'll get more in there. But Chari said, this is a game that Arsenal would have drawn or lost in the past. They played really well, a lot of sexy stuff. Bournemouth were pretty good. Fulham were pretty good. They're a much better organized side. I think one of these things that we don't give credit to is managers can get better the way players can get better. Like, I think Silva's gotten better. He was okay at Hull, got relegated, lived a heroic story, was okay at Watford. Then his head got turned for the Everton team job.
Crazy.
And his team quit on him, or he quit on somebody quit on somebody. And then the Everton thing we're finding out was actually a mess. And he probably was doing a better job than we actually thought. And so he's now taken this Fulham job, set the record for points and goals in the championship. They scored over 105 goals. He's got Mitrovic going from 43. We were kidding around earlier in the season. Is he going to get 15? Is he going to get 20? He's looking really good. But yeah, I thought Fulham were game for the fight. Every time I see Tim Ream, I go, this team's not serious, because we know Tim Ream. He's a U.S. national team defender. He doesn't play for the U.S. men's national team, and he's supposed to play for Fulham. He's not good enough. And I know Tosin Adebayo as well. He also, I think the back line of Fulham is still the same team that gave up 70 goals the last time they were there
2 years ago, right? Yeah.
So I think offensively they're much better. They're more organized. I think the midfield's really good. I like Addison Reed and Paulinho. They're really good players. Anyway, but Mitrovic really bullies Gabriel. He makes a mistake. It's not the worst mistake I've ever seen. I think Mitrovic, 50% of the time the defender gets out of that.
Yeah.
But Mitrovic made him not get out of it.
Mm-hmm.
So that was cool. Mitrovic scores. They do the Michu head wag. I love that. It makes me happy. I like an old school. I like a repeated goal celebration because then it becomes associated with the guy. And then Odegaard's like, oh, I have the captain's armband on. Hey, Saka, let's get this shit done.
Yeah.
And he just goes up a level to say, not today, not my Arsenal. I don't want to hear about fucking Patrick Vieira. I don't want to hear about, does this team have characters? Yes, it has characters, and they come in the face of a 12-year-old Norwegian boy.
Nice. Well done.
Yeah.
I think that's somewhere in Norway. That's definitely not illegal anyway, so it's fine.
I mean, he's 23. His hair looks like he's in something about Mary with the cum in his hair. He's all over. He's all over the place. He lives in that little pocket on the side there. He just reminds me of a City player. He just reminds me of like a Kevin De Bruyne before Pep was like, no, you can go anywhere the fuck you want.
Yeah.
So he's now he's still in that pocket, and he doesn't shoot enough. But I think, what did I say probably 2 episodes ago? If he starts shooting and can get to 10 goals, he's going to completely change Arsenal.
Oh, I agree. I mean, the obvious parallel for me is peak Eriksen at Spurs, right? Like it's very similar. They even look alike. But no, I mean,
although I feel like Eriksen was not as active a player, but had the same influence. Eriksen would open things up. He'd just stand there. He'd be in space somehow that he walked there. The ball would come to him. He'd flip it around the corner and off they'd go. And he'd be like, and Eriksen would be like, I did that.
Those Pochettino teams ran so much. He actually did run quite a bit.
Just he was relative to the team.
Relative to the team, you'd always see the camera on him and the close-ups where he was standing still, and it would give you the impression that he was like just fucking around. But he was actually working.
He wouldn't have been able to play, right?
Right, exactly. But no, I think the thing that scares me
all the time.
Yeah, maybe. The thing that scares me about this Arsenal team is that exactly that. I know how much of a benefit and how much of an impact that Eriksen type player and that Eriksen type quality can have in the attacking band. And it honestly, for me, is what launched Harry Kane's career, having that service. You know, it was before he learned how to have to drop deep. Right now, it does it himself, but that was the beginning of what is potentially to be known as the greatest goal scorer England's ever had, who, by the way, after today is third all time in goals. But let's do the scores and we'll come back to it.
Yeah, we'll do the scores. Okay, let me give me a second because we got to do 2 scores. We got to do setup and knockdown. So I'm pulling up the scores here. Wait a minute, I don't have them properly. So
I'll get them. I'll say them. You say you.
No. I got it.
All right. We're not going to edit this part out, by the way. This is just garbage time for our friends and listeners. Thank you, guys.
No, I had FB Ref up and it didn't have today's scores in.
You're the worst. The preparation for this show that I do
is actually quite good.
The preparation I do for the show and the preparation Laurent does for the show. Let me just tell you something, folks. He shows up half in the bag a lot and just mails it the fuck in. Meanwhile, I'm over here breaking my dick to make sure we do everything we can for you, the listener, because we love you. And Laurent couldn't give a fuck. He's just all the talent, you know?
I know. I just can't believe it took me this long.
I'm leaving the show. That's it.
Okay, here we go.
Right, I'm back. Let's do the scores.
The early game was Southampton 0, Man United 1. They get off the schneid. Southampton are pretty good. You can see the green shoots of a new team growing out of that team. Chelsea down a man for 60 minutes. Defeat Leicester 2-1. They take their souls and they take their defender. Fofana goes.
Quick reaction on this, and we'll go back to it in a second. Better win for Chelsea down a man or worse loss for Leicester?
It's a better win for Chelsea.
Yep.
They would have been in real trouble. Brighton continue. They're top of the league. 1-0 versus Leeds. We thought this would be a barn burner. It was not. Brighton dominated. They're Sanchez, top of the league in clean sheets with 3. Brighton don't give up goals. City come back behind their roaring, destructive man destroyer in Erling Haaland. 4-2. Palace go up 2. No problem for City. We've done it before. We'll do it again. Liverpool give the American History X curb stomp to 9 people's faces against Bournemouth. Bournemouth were broken. Scott Parker was broken. Please watch his post-game interview. He looked like he was going to cry. It wasn't funny. I think he might get fired. Brentford won. Everton won. Both Mike and I swore to all the old gods and knew that Brentford were going to pull this one out. They do put up a 3 XG, but still get the draw. That's bullshit. Brentford, you're better than that. We just talked Arsenal 2-1 over Fulham. Mitrovic over for 15 goals is definitely going to bang that over. We should probably see what the odds are for that. Wolves, Newcastle. I swore Wolves were going to pull this out. I had them at +3. I had them at +500 in the live betting to pull it out. And they didn't do it. They also won the XG battle, 1-1 with with Wolves.
With Newcastle.
West Ham versus Aston Villa. I have a statement. Can teams stop wearing black? There's a lot of black on the alternative jerseys. I can't figure out who the hell's playing. Aston Villa lose again. Steven Gerrard is on the clock. That team should be better. And if it was a different manager, say Graham Potter, I think they would be top half because Brighton is, and they're not as good.
A word on this game, West Ham were arguably terrible and got the win. Their first of the year. I thought they would be far more bossy in this game and take it by the throat.
They're not there. They're not that. That's not how they play.
No, I know, but I still thought that they would push around Aston Villa. They did not. And
in the second half, they did. They were much better.
Yeah, they got the points, but I was right by accident on this one.
And then Spurs defeat your friends Nottingham Forest 2-0 in a what looked like Forest was on top of Tottenham, but Spurs got the early goal and really were the best team in the league at controlling a game without the ball. Very Mourinho performance.
Very Mourinho performance is grossly how I would put it, but with the confidence that the venom in the snake is different. And I mean, it was quite pungent.
Yeah, it's a much better Mourinho performance in that the spacing was different. It wasn't as compact and deep and heroic. It was more like, we know where you guys are going and you're not getting any good shots.
I think it was patient would be the word I would use.
But patient in defense.
That's what I mean. Yeah. And I think there's a lot to be learned still about who his best 11 is. I said that on the last episode, but they're getting there. The other thing I think about this game is, Richarlison is going to take Sonny's spot in the lineup temporarily, and I'm curious to see how that starts to kind of pull out. But enough about Spurs for a minute. Forest are going to be I'm glad that we got Forest out of the way early because they're tough. It's a tough game, tough place to play. But I'm going to enjoy watching them play I'm going to enjoy rooting for them to avoid relegation this season.
Yeah, I think that the relegation battle's starting to become clear. Bournemouth are going down.
Yeah.
They are. That's not where I want to start. We talked about Arsenal a little. We'll hit on City, but we could start with Liverpool. That was an abomination. That was kind of worse than the first 9-0 that Southampton got. Because if you remember, Southampton had a man sent off. I think Romeo went off. It was raining. It was like 12 degrees, and they kind of just ran out. They were just like, we're fucked. Everything's going in. And Leicester just poured it on and got the 9-0. The second 9-0 that they had against them was against United. I don't really remember that one, but that was I don't know how that second one happened. I think United just had their one good day of the year. Maybe that was during no fans, so maybe it didn't even count. Did anything happen during the no fans era? Oh yeah, Liverpool won the league. That doesn't count.
I will counter. I'm not going to sign on blindly with Bournemouth going down for two reasons. A, they do have a win, and there are 3 teams currently who don't. But that's one side. But
you have to have seen Scott Parker after this game.
I understand.
He was crushed.
But
could the sword of Damocles show up in on the South Coast?
Oh no, absolutely.
On Scott Parker's head? Yes.
What I'm saying is, if Scott Parker doesn't get canned in the next 3 weeks, right? They have played Liverpool, City, Arsenal.
They're minus 14.
I understand that they are, but they got their doors blown off by 3 teams who we pretty much would have expected this from. Although I did the dumbest thing I've said on the show in quite a while was, hey, maybe Bournemouth plus 2.5.
That would have lost.
I know by quite a margin, but I was like, that's a fuck around bet. Don't take that one seriously.
No,
but
here's the thing that I like. Title race implications. That plus 9 is worth like a game. Absolutely.
I understand. I'm not. Oh, title race. Yeah. Well,
for Liverpool, this says
race,
this says to the rest of the league, Liverpool's fine. That United thing, we just had a midfield of James Milner, Henderson, and a 12-year-old, who played despite his mother dying, his grandmother dying, and he cried on the pitch. I loved it. It was great. Scored a goal. I started crying. It was fantastic.
Bournemouth will be in the relegation battle. I'm not saying that they won't. I'm just not here to staple them to one of the 3 teams.
Oh no, of course. It's 4 games in. There's a lot to do. There's new managers to come in. There's players to come in. I actually
think it's a pretty cloudy race in the bottom half of the table right now. I think the top half of the table is starting to shift, right? Because those teams begin to separate from the pack, even if only slightly. And there are some teams that are still sticking around. But the bottom half, it's like, all right, these are the teams who are likely to be 11 through 20 in some order, right? Southampton is going to be around there at some point. Nottingham Forest, well, I hope, is at the top end of that half, but they'll probably be dragged into the race at some point. Aston Villa looking more increasingly like they are. Bournemouth, Everton, Wolves all look like they could possibly be stuck in that race.
Leicester.
And by the way, the team in dead last right now, Leicester City. So
Leicester's in trouble. Fofana. Well, let me just
make sure we dovetails into the game this weekend.
Yeah, let's. So we've talked Liverpool. Let's talk City. City go down. I will give you my feelings. I was very nervous about this game. I know what Crystal Palace have done. They are a good team. Anderson in the back, Gahey at the back, all really good. Tyreek Mitchell is a good defender. Eze, we've talked about how they are a South London team. They reflect the ethnic breakdown of the neighborhood. It's a team you can get behind. They feel really good. They have there's some swagger to them about they respect the creativity, yet they're structured. So they're fun and they will beat you. The first thing I was excited about was Zaha got injured in the warm-up. I was like, yoo-hoo! Thank God. So that was great. I was like, oh, this is a cakewalk.
Oh, I didn't think anything of it. I was like, I'm not even going to watch this.
Yeah. They were plus 1,500 at the start of the game.
Yeah.
Money line to win. They get an early goal on a corner. It's a little sloppy. It goes off of Walker and then John Stones' leg. Then it's like, oh shit, City are in trouble. Eze is playing really well as a midfield outlet up to Hudson-Edouard. So he's able to take the ball, release pressure, turn and go. And the first half is really good. And then they get another corner and the line has been, of course, you know how it is. Anytime a goal goes in off a corner, it's because it's bad defending, right?
Yep.
It's never the ball was not defendable and it went and it was deep and yes, Anderson wasn't marked, but he was 30 feet from the goal. Like you don't mark that guy. So he does a bullet header, it goes in. City down 2. At that point, I was nervous. I was like, oh shit, this sucks because some days City don't pull these things together. Second half happens. Pep changes it. This is one thing that's not discussed. He sees the problem that it's too narrow. He gets Bernardo and Foden out wide, takes off Mahrez and Cancelo, which is interesting. So Foden is at left back. Mm-hmm. It goes to a 4. Everything opens up, and Bernardo just is like, I got this. He starts working on the wings, cutting inside, scores a goal. Once one goal goes in, then it takes off. Then Haaland has the space. Everything loosens up. Palace are all over the place, and Haaland just goes, I'm awesome. We're winning this fucking game.
Yeah.
Cross from Foden on his side. Boom, Haaland goes in. Haaland puts it in. Then a ping-pang. Looked like an amazing goal until you realize that John Stones shanked the shot. Haaland does that. Then another one. Then City are just off and running, and it was an amazing, a romp. Just like, holy shit, we did this again. We were down those 2 goals against Aston Villa at the end of the season. Same kind of thing where it's just like there was an inevitability. There was a hope. There was a control. Oh, the last goal was actually the best one from Haaland, where he's running in and Gundogan plays him in. And all I could think in that moment was, that's the Raheem Sterling run. That's the goal he doesn't score. And City would have drawn that game.
Yep.
But in this case, Haaland sees the ball coming, puts his body into the defender, holds off the defender for a yard. He falls over, and then he finishes. Just a striker's goal, and something City haven't had since Aguero. Because Aguero could use his body that way. And Haaland's just a big, bad motherfucker. Yeah. And he enjoys it. He seems to be having fun, which is great.
Every goal scorer, right? Every striker loves scoring goals, all that. He enjoys winning the battle as much as he enjoys scoring the goal, right?
Yes.
And that's fucking terrifying. You've got your Harry Kane now. You have one.
And I think the other piece that I think about is, and I talked about this at a party with a guy, nice guy, Tarek. We were talking football. He was like, "Oh, what's City's problem? We were talking about the big clubs and the Champions League and the institutional power, all that stuff of why does Real win stuff? Because you have to. Haaland has the personality that can lift the team. He, as an individual, brings extra, right?
Yeah.
He has a thing. He has personality. Something City have lacked. Despite how great they are, they don't have a charismatic player. Jack Grealish is a charismatic player, but
Yeah,
as
but
a
he's a
heel,
drunk.
and he's a heel. He's
Yeah.
he's Doctor Doom, right?
He's Jamie Tart.
He's Pretty Boy Floyd, right? He should come. If he comes out with all blonde hair, I can't, right? It's gonna happen, right? Him and Haaland are gonna have blonde hair and look like Tweedledee and Tweedledum. But Haaland is a genuine superhero kind of. Kids like him. He's big and strong. He's got the thing. He's got the Zlatan without the.
He's Michael Jordan dunking from the free throw line with the tongue out, right? Like
he's got that thing. And City's talent will go off. And I think the last piece that I say about it is his personality is actually, you can see that Pep likes it.
It's infectious.
He's like, yeah, everyone's fired up. I'm like, this is just a goal as a regular fourth game of the season that we won, and they went nuts.
Winning cures everything. Whether Pep likes it or doesn't like it, he loves it when he's scoring a hat trick in a come from behind win. When he loses at Old Trafford or to Spurs or to whoever, and he's demonstrative in a difficult way, well, then we'll see what Pep really thinks about it. But I said it actually on our Twitter account. I actually was like, oh, no Zaha, no party. It should be fine. And then I was like, oh, whoops. But the other thing is, the last comment I had on that game, because I was watching Goal Rush for the 10 a.m. For the 3 p.m. games.
It must have looked awesome.
And it was awesome. It was so much fun. But I was like, oh, so that's what they look like with a real striker.
Been a while.
Like
it's been a while.
And this is not to speak ill of Aguero, but like Aguero could do all the things you were saying that Haaland is doing, but Haaland looks like he's doing them with a cape on, to the superhero reference.
Yes,
right?
because he's 6'3", he runs like a deer. Yeah, and for all of Aguero's, Harry Kane just passed Aguero, right? Yep. He didn't have personality. He couldn't speak English. He just was this cute.
But he was sneaky. He was diminutive and around. Haaland is like, oh, there's a brick wall there. That won't be a problem. Like he seems awesome. Aguero was like, all right, we can try to game plan him out of the game. It doesn't matter what you're going to do to Haaland, because he's going to find a way to beat you, or he's going to draw so much attention that somebody else around him is going.
Well, that's the thing. The spaces opened up, and to be fair, Palace really collapsed. They just vanished in the game.
Yeah, they did.
They didn't threaten again. They just seemed to accept that they lost.
But again, this City team makes good teams look ordinary. So
yes,
I think that we need to revisit Palace in a month.
Yeah, I think they're going to be fine. I think, I think the big thing with Palace is I think Zaha is a real maturing goal scorer with all the finishes, where I think this could be the season where, he's 28, 29, where he scores 25 goals. And if he scores 25 goals, they're finishing 8th. You know what I mean? Sure. And that would be huge for Palace. But if he's getting hurt, then that's another problem. So let's go to Stamford Bridge, where we talked very briefly about Raheem Sterling. But this game was a referendum game in some sense of just like, where is Chelsea? And the lineup came in. I was happy to see Conor Gallagher, same lineup as they had the game before. Gallagher's at home, and he just takes 2 fouls in the first half hour. The first one is on 23. The second one's on 29. He's sent off for 2 yellows. And he's distraught. He's crushed.
Yeah.
I don't think he'll play again.
No, I don't think he can. And the hard part, I said this, I would describe Conor Gallagher. I use the hockey analogy. He's, gripping the stick too tight, right? You can see him trying to do everything. He's in quicksand out there. It's tough. Yeah. It's actually... Like I've said this before, it actually bothers me to see a kid like that fail in the place where he is so dead young. Set on succeeding.
He's got a full season at West Brom, a full season at Palace.
I understand. No, what I'm saying is that I remember watching him last year going, this kid's really fun. And he's a kid that I enjoy rooting for, despite the fact that he's a Chelsea player. And so I could only feel half bad for him, because half of me is glad that he got sent off.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. Maybe this is a coaching moment, right? Does Tuchel want to bring him back in? Does he feel like he needs him? Conte's out for still another at least a month. Mm-hmm. Does he try and resurrect him? Because a double yellow is a 1-game ban, so he'll miss this midweek game and see where he is after that. But Chelsea do suffer. Thiago Silva was incredible, which is weird. He's 38 years old. He shouldn't be incredible, but he was. He's cutting everything out, not letting Leicester score. But Leicester had a chance to pull this game together. They just couldn't get the goals, and Raheem Sterling scored those 2 goals I talked about. One, a lollipop shitty off edge of the box. You're like, what? This is so Raheem with his chocolate leg. He can't shoot. It just and then the other one is that he's in the box. He's ready for the tap in. Reece James puts it on his foot. These are the goals that you saw, both the types of goals that Raheem Sterling can score. And he was their best player.
And you see the ones that he misses too, because he had a big miss in that game. Again, one huge talking point we have to bring up for Leicester, aside from the fact that the barrage is on the clock right now.
Or he may quit.
He might leave. Something's going to happen if they don't win one of their next 2 games without fail. But no James Madison. I don't know what happened there. I didn't follow that up. What? He was hurt.
Yeah.
Well,
otherwise, he
look,
played.
If you have you would have brought him on. If you have James Madison and you are up a man on Chelsea for 60 minutes, you're going to score 2, 3, maybe more. So
also, I didn't check. Did they play Daka? I love that.
I don't remember. He hasn't gotten a lot of time he didn't get a lot of time at the end of last season. One other thing in this game, there was a controversial call that went Chelsea's way. And I would like to underline that for all the boo-hoos out there who are still pissed off about Romero and all the stuff about Tottenham. You didn't deserve it. That was a goal. It was not a foul on Harvey Barnes. And you got one. So congratulations. Shut the fuck up.
Yeah, I don't think Daka did not come on. I don't understand a guy who scores 30 goals in the German league. There's an indictment here to be said about Rodgers. Like, they've given him players and he's not using them. Like, is Soyuncu really that bad that Amartey, who's a central midfielder, needs to play in defense? What's going on? Like, Mendy was bought, Daka was there. There's just things that are weird about Rodgers coaching that I'm just like, what is going on? Why aren't you playing the guys who need to play? Yeah, I mean, this is for Leicester people to sort of we don't know, right? Yeah. We don't know. This is like, are you deep in the team? Do you know what's going on? The team is young. Like, there's a lot of good young players on Leicester. It's a good job, but maybe Rodgers' time with them is over, and the XG was close.
I want to touch on this before we move to another game. Speaking of good young players, it was an interesting dynamic watching them play Chelsea while being locked in the Fofana stubbornness battle that they eventually relented and caved on. They got £75 million for Wesley Fofana.
That's a lot.
That's a lot of money. Even if he turns out to be a Van Dijk, you still got fair value for him.
Yeah, because Van Dijk, they got $75 million, and he had Southampton in 7th.
Right. Well, no, but my point is that even if he turns out to be a superstar, you can't have what if we just held on to him? You sold him at peak value. You sold him. You've done this with Harry Maguire, right? And so this is going to go one of 2 ways, and you win both ways. Either he turns out to be great, and you still got £75 million for him, or he didn't. He's 22. He had a broken leg all of last year, completely forgotten year for him, or totally washed out year.
He's played 9 games since the 2021 season.
I'm not saying he's not extremely potentially talented.
9
Come
games.
on. You shouldn't pay $9 million for him then.
No.
So
you should fucking spend a third of that money and sign Lewis Dunk.
After Koundé, after De Ligt, after all of these players, aside from Koulibaly, that Chelsea let slip through their fingers, Ake being one of them, and central defense, you knew that they were going to overpay for somebody.
Also, Chalobah's good.
Well, okay.
Just play him.
Sure. I mean, find a better way than spending £75 million on Fofana. But what this will do, and it's important, Reece James is going to be back out to right wing back. And that's going to have shockwaves positively for the entire team.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think Chelsea will be fine.
Yeah.
You know, this is a good win for them. It looks like Raheem is taking on the responsibility of being the guy who is on this team and will help them get wins, which is what they needed. They needed an attacking player who has personality. And I think Raheem has personality. He wants the ball. He shows for it. He's like, I'll fucking win this game. I don't care. He's like a good closer. He misses and he goes again. He's like, I don't care. I'll just But he wants to play. He needs to play. Like, that's the thing that happened at City is he lost confidence because he wasn't playing. Mm-hmm. But you got to just there's going to be stretches where he just yaks. Sure. That's just Raheem's Sterling's life. The United, this game was boring, to be fair.
It was.
I thought Southampton were actually quite good, and you can see the sprouts of a good team. The central defense is a 22 and a 20-year-old, so that means that they're going to sell those two guys for a combined 70 million in the next year or two,
or more if they get Leicester's guy who's doing their dealings.
And I want to give a shout out to the guy's name because I want to get it right. I think.
Well, Southampton, to your point, seemed to me like a team that is going to sell off all of their pieces, whether they get relegated or not in the next 2-3 years. But I think,
but they're super young, right? Like,
but they've always done this too. They've done it with going back all the way to Gareth Bale, with Sadio Mane, with Van Dijk, right?
So Salisu is really, really good because I've had games where he's against City where he just
I do
on
not
top
enjoy
of everything. And then the other one is, I want to get his name right because it's weird. Armel Bella Kotchap, 20 years old, number 37, on top of his game, played really well. So I think in the long run, United will be happy with this. They get the win. They got the effort again, which is the key thing with United right now. Right now, they have to just be, are we playing hard? Are we running hard? Are we playing for our teammates? Are we behind each other? Are we pushing to help get things done? Is the team playing as a unit? And I think you can say, yes, this team is playing as a unit. And that's all you can ask for. And I really, it's fun to watch United is to actually watch Lisandro Martinez. There's no way he's 5'9". This dude is tiny. And when you watch him, he almost looks like you're playing NBA Jam and he has the shrunken body on and is this little tiny guy who but he has blocking 99. And you're just like, what the fuck is going on? He looks like a tiny person.
Yeah.
But he is a tenacious guy. He is bringing an energy, like people are making saves or blocks and he fucking gives them high fives. And I think that's what United was lacking. Yeah. And I think
that's what they thought they were getting with Maguire.
But he never had that personality. I think Varane needs that. Like, he's used to playing with Ramos. His best version of Varane is, I'm a cool, super cool Caribbean French guy. I'm light skinned. I fuck girls. I don't talk shit, but I just do it behind the back. I go to the back door. You're not there, but I come out smelling like roses, and I just go, don't worry, man. Your wife's okay. I told her to be nice to you. But he needs that energy guy to be like, yo, go talk to her. Go make sure. Go in there. He's like, all right, I'll do it. Don't worry about it. Stop giving me a hard time. But then he goes to do it, right? So Neil Maupay, this is all inspired by Neil Maupay, who's now all French players are terrible lovers who try and steal and sleep with your girlfriend. Anyway, he's not. It doesn't matter. But Martinez does have that Argentinian juice, the way that Ramos had, and that Furia Roja, like fighting power defender, that I think helps that pairing work together.
And I think
all of a sudden Varane was amazing.
Well, right. There's more on the way with Casemiro, who came off the bench in what's more or less a closer's bullpen role in this game. Of course, he will be in the starting side.
Oh, McTominay's never playing again.
No, but that's the point, right? Like they were holding on for dear life, and Casemiro came into the game, and everything cooled down 10 degrees. Everyone's like, "Hey, we're fine here." There's no reason.
And by the way, I love Eriksen in the deeper role.
Sure,
he's so much better. Because
as long as you don't pass it to him blindly on the tip of his.
Well, that was a fuck up, right? That wasn't
his fault. That wasn't his fault.
But he does pick those passes. He can rake it. He doesn't have to be up. He can join in the attack. He does. He's not a great defender, but I don't think he has to.
No,
he's just got to
be.
No,
he doesn't have to.
He's just got to be good enough because that's the piece they're missing. They cannot transition from defense to attack. That's where they were getting killed. Fred and McTominay were killing them because they get stuck there. It was like they were in molasses. So when people would say, "Oh, McFred sucks," it's because there's the whole concept of buildup and weak links and all that stuff that I talk about all the time. They just couldn't get out because they had two players who were either afraid or their touches were wrong or they didn't have the passing skill, and they literally would just get stuck in the final third.
You're going to have a Casemiro pivot with and Eriksson and Fernandez. Bruno Fernandez was great in this game. He had an amazing finish for the goal, but he was everywhere. And what ends up happening is Eriksson finds pockets, large pockets of space. So he gets the ball, he turns around, he takes 3 strides, and you should count to 3. And I can tell you this as a longtime Eriksson fan and Spurs supporter, if he gets 3 comfortable strides around the halfway line,
he's going to put the ball on someone's head.
Something bad's about to happen to you, right? Yeah. And so that's kind of what's been starting to happen with United. And they've got runners for days.
The line with Eriksson is you cannot let him pick his head up because he will find
exactly.
the paths.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's what I mean. If you watch him and you see him turn, you go 1, 2, 3, you're out. You're done. Like it's
that should be. But the thing is, it's Manchester United. That should be true of any player in the midfield of Manchester United. I understand,
but this is his legitimate.
I know.
This is his specialized.
I just want to make sure that people are aware of the gravitas of the team that we're talking about. That because actually has to have a player who's that good. Like they should always have those players.
No, listen. It's true of Bruno Fernandes as well, right? Yeah, and it was true of it 2-3 years ago. He was one of the best players in the league, and he's not anymore. But he is taking on a leadership role. And if you watch him talk in between the lines sort of thing, he is controlling the Ronaldo narrative. He's the puppet master with this whole thing. I'm Ronaldo's friend. I know where he's going. I'm not going to tell you I love him. I'm going to respect his decision, whether he stays or he goes. We'll have no questions about this. And the whole thing went away. Yeah. The whole thing went away.
So I think the real frank truth is he was the most affected by Ronaldo.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But now Ten Hag has given him the clipboard, basically. Yeah. And said, I saw United with you, and I saw how instrumental you were to the success of that club or that specific season's team. We're going to put you in the driver's seat here. Yeah. And so in doing so, he gets more liberated in the final third or even the attacking half, really. And that allows Eriksson to sort of play in his shadow, which is where he always plays best. And like I said before, he was kind of the catalyst for creating Harry Kane. Well, it also was sort of symbiotic in the sense that they were feeding into each other's best strengths early on in that relationship in 2015, 2016. So
I do want to give credit again to Southampton. They were not bad in this game, and they did boss the last 15 minutes. Any United fan knows that they were not lucky to get that. Like a draw would not have been out of character. So I think there's green shoots with Southampton. You know, we know Che Adams is getting some burn. Aribo is quite good. There's a lot of good stuff happening there. And this is one of those, could they go down? Sure. But they have a couple of elements that should prevent them from going down. Yeah. They have a coach who trusts young players, and there's a lot of young players. And you have a coach who's good with young players, who has a track record of at least keeping his team up and fighting all the way through, even if sometimes those fights end up with them getting blown out. They even when they do get blown out, they don't give up. So and he doesn't have interviews like Scott Parker, which is
no.
Look, where do you want to go?
Well, let's think about this for a second. We changed our schedule. We're coming to you we're recording on a Sunday and dropping it on a Monday morning because we are going to have a busy schedule up through November, whatever the 15th is when they break for the World Cup, right? So we have games on Tuesday, on Wednesday, and on Thursday of this week, and then right back again on Saturday. So we have to talk about previews for upcoming match week 5. It's going to be coming thick and fast earlier than usual this year, folks. We're going to have all of the cups and Premier League matches in the midweek. So we're going to have 2 games a week for the next 4 months. It's going to be really fun, and it starts right now. So
the first game coming up is Brighton Fulham, which would be a really good game. But I do want to give the game of the week on NBC. It's stripped. The Leeds Brighton game looked like it was going to be something big, but Brighton are too good for Leeds, and they just put the wool over this thing and just shut it down. And they dominated Leeds, and they are top of the league, tied.
Well, they're tied. Well, no, they're
in second. They're tied second. So my beloved Brighton still playing well. The Danny Welbeck revival going really well. High ball up to him. He knocks it down. Trossard gets on it, onto Pascal Grosch, the slowest, most technical player you can see. And the beloved fighting seagulls who will steal your sandwich off the beach. That's about as violent as they get.
There you go. So they sell Mope and they go from stealing girlfriends to stealing sandwiches. Nice. Nice.
They need
Yeah,
they need a new identity. They do not have a crazy identity, although they do have a weird like Ecuadorian connection. They've got a scouting network that's doing weird stuff. I don't know.
Yeah.
They're like, where are they getting Ecuadorians from? That's really Zambia.
They're kidnapping
I don't
families.
even know what's happening.
No, they're kidnapping families. The British have been doing this for hundreds of years.
Yeah, on the coast. Maybe they were, in that illicit trade.
That's what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
No, I didn't get to see a whole lot of this game. I expected to see more of it because, like I said, I was watching Goal Rush to try and get as much as I could. Nothing happened in the game. It wasn't even like they broke. I love that Goal Rush breaks in with highlights and they're not always goals, right? No. So you're like,
a yellow card.
Oh, okay. And so this was one where I just was waiting for something. And I think that there was, including the one goal for Brighton, I think they piped into it like 3 times. So it wasn't a whole heck of a lot going on. Comparatively, there was a lot going on at Stamford Bridge, at the Etihad, and of course at Anfield. So I was like, all right, this game doesn't mean much right now.
But I mean, I think the secret thing with Brighton, they play good football. They don't give up shit. Like they're on 3 clean sheets in a row. So really good team. We'll give a quick chat about Newcastle and Brentford and Brighton, whatever. We should probably get into the week. We'll cover those teams.
Let's start with Newcastle then. Newcastle go to Anfield on Wednesday.
Oh, that's
Alexander Isak was not in the lineup this past weekend. I expect him to be on Wednesday. So we'll see about that. He has visa issues or like whatever work papers. If he can get that sorted out, he should be in the lineup on Wednesday.
Because they're not in the EU anymore. He can't just go.
Right. It's going to create a unique challenge for Liverpool's back line. And listen, they're coming off of that. We're pissed off about losing to United. They're going to even out now. And this is actually a good, where are our deficiencies test for Liverpool, I think. Right. So we've talked about it a lot. We think we know where they are.
Well,
this is a game where the soft midfield for them can still get exposed.
Right.
So I'm curious.
Right. If Newcastle's midfield can perform like they did against City, with Joe Linton and Willock and Grimarish, they could really cause problems to Liverpool. But we'll see. Anfield is an amazing equalizer. This is a classic game. The greatest game of all time, the 4-3, was between Liverpool and Newcastle. So we should check that one out. That's on Wednesday. Also, like I said, the Tuesday games, Fulham, Brighton, Palace, a London derby, a good one at Selhurst. That is tasty. Palace versus Brentford. I really like that game. That's one that I'm going to look at what the betting line is. Then Southampton hosts Chelsea at St. Mary's. Not so much of a scary game. Then Leeds at home against Everton. Here's a tip for everyone. Bet against Everton on the road. They're terrible. Even though they drew with Brentford. They should have lost.
I also think that Leeds are going to take what they had from Brighton and learn from that and go forward. But
this will be a different game, though.
No, I understand. But what I'm saying is, they're going to be much more they're going to have a lot more snarl at home against Everton. I'm with you 100%. I don't even know the line. I'm taking Leeds.
Yeah. Well, the other piece is like if Everton tries to play out from the back, they're not good enough. They'll get annihilated by Leeds. But we'll see if the tiredness affects them. It's Tuesday after Sunday. We'll see. And then Wednesday, Arsenal, Aston Villa. This would have been to us a big game, but this now becomes does Gerrard make it? I mean, I know this is early, but a bad performance for Villa here is really damning. I don't think anyone would expect Villa to beat Arsenal. Actually, you know what? They're
a month ago. Yeah, we would have.
It should be close.
Said at the Emirates. No, I don't think that. I don't think I would have thought that a month ago either.
But the other piece that's happening with Arsenal, sorry, Mike, is the atmosphere is coming back. It's almost like a dormant thing. Like they finally, after all these years in the sort of downtrodden Wenger years, whereas they were good, but we got the new stadium, we don't like it. Oh, we have the dark times, we have the pandemic. Somehow the Emirates is alive and it comes through. So Arsenal have got the fans on side, which is actually really cool.
And for Aston Villa, it's going to get worse before it gets better because they have to go to Man City next weekend. And then
no, they don't. No,
they're
City
home,
come to them. Yeah,
they're home, but still they have to welcome City. So I was wrong about where the game is. But point being, that's going to be a tough one for them. You obviously can't expect them to get a result there.
They've just got to play. They have to play better.
This could be a sort of Damocles game in a couple of weeks. September 10th. Well, either way, Leicester, Aston Villa, loser goes home.
Yeah.
Right, like that could be Braj and Gerrard, which is sort of interesting in and of itself. The loser gets fired there, but yeah.
City versus Nottingham Forest at home. Nottingham Forest. This is a not in the face game. City will see that big number that Liverpool put up, and they may want to put their own statement down.
I don't know that Nottingham Forest
hide your kids. Nottingham Forest, you are in for some shit.
I will say this. Here's why they'll never put up a crooked number on Forest. Dean Henderson will make 3 saves he shouldn't.
Right.
That's phenomenal.
He's so good.
He was phenomenal today against Spurs. And
he's good.
I like him so much. I'm rooting for him as a function of the Forest story. But no, this is not a game where you worry about them, on the road. When they're at home, they can beat anyone in the league, which is super fun. But
this Bournemouth game is also a big one. It's more about reaction. I don't think they'd be expecting to win this, but Bournemouth have to show fight because after the Liverpool game, they're going against Wolves. Wolves still having a hard time scoring anything, but they still play well.
And on that point, this a storyline working in all of these games in parallel. This is transfer deadline day. So there's going to be a lot of discussion about who's coming, who's going. Is United going to get Anthony, who I understand it's getting over the line now?
90 million.
Yeah. So is Liverpool going to strike for a midfielder? Do they want Ruben Neves? So players.
No, he's not going. He's not going.
I understand.
Large said it already.
They said that about Fofana too at Leicester. So until the clock strikes midnight, players' heads have to be at least 1% turned, right? If they're being,
I think the big one. There was some talk of Arsenal and Neto. For some reason, that was the Robbie's.
Neto wanted to go.
Well, maybe they should do it. Okay, who knows? We'll see there. I mean, I like Wolves. I don't know where they are. I haven't watched one of their games yet. But, I mean, getting that draw against Newcastle was good at home, but we'll see where they are after that. Bournemouth are in trouble already. We have to see a fight. This is a tricky game, your West Ham Tottenham. This is a traditional ICF versus the Tottenham Cruise. This is a hooligan special. It's been in movies like the Football Factory. They fight over West Ham Tottenham being played in London. So this is a classic hooligan game. And
it's at night.
This has draw written on it for me.
I agree. Part of the reason I wanted West Ham to win so bad today is because I wanted them to get off the schneid before they played us. But
because West Ham will play for the draw.
West Ham will play like it's their cup final and they're playing for penalties. So exactly. Do Spurs have significantly higher quality at every position? Of course. But this is, like I said, this is West Ham's cup final. It's going to be so much for them. It's a derby. It's miserable for Spurs 90% of the time.
Tough
Mikel
game.
Antonio, if he is ailing, if he has stage 4 cancer, he'll beat it and come in and score in this game. He just will. It's a good bet for this one. Game. Wait, here's a good one for this one. Both teams to score. Maybe not necessarily the over, but I love both. A score draw, like you were saying, is a good bet. I like that.
This has draw written all over it. I just can't.
That's fair.
I can't. West Ham are too tough, and there's too much history. We talked Liverpool, Newcastle. That's a good game. I'm excited about it. And then Leicester, Man United. This is another marker game. This is the Thursday game, so there's mostly Tuesday, Wednesday, and then there's one Thursday game, late games, basically like the Monday Night Football. United versus Leicester. This is a interesting one. I think United have to continue to play the counterattack that they do, because Leicester want the ball, and Leicester's defense is so bad, United could put 3 up on this one.
I agree.
This is a narrative shifting. Leicester's in bad shape. United now are in the driver's seat. They need to start scoring, right? Because they're not scoring. They're getting these 1-0. They got 2 1-0s in a row. Now, okay, you've solidified. We all work. We all defend. Now let's try and score some goals.
So speaking of going back to the manager referendum, if you will.
There's a couple.
Because there are so many games in such quick succession, I think that some managers will get a longer leash than they
because they'll have a chance to redo it.
Right. And also you're not going to be able to fire a guy on a Sunday and play again on a Wednesday.
And there's no international break to do we'll fire him at the beginning.
Exactly.
The guy the 2 weeks. It'll be like,
exactly.
He coming in.
Yeah, right. And so I think that September 10th, like I mentioned before, Leicester City against Aston Villa, that is going to be, and of course it'll be a draw. They both get fired.
By the way,
but,
can you see it now? The montage shot. See it? The music's rising. Sean Dyche is running on the beach. He's getting ready. He's getting ready, man. He's got his sweats on. He's like, I got defenders.
It's a Rocky montage.
Oh God, he's doing it. He's running. He's shaving, but he's shaving the top of his head. He's going extra bald. Oh, it's amazing.
it's a Rocky 2 montage. It's an early Rocky.
It's Sean Dyche, but behind him is Rafa Benitez trying to get back in the action. He's like, his tie's falling off.
No,
Rafa wants back in so bad. He thinks that he's like Klopp, and he thinks he's in that group, right? He thinks he's one of those guys. He's not, but his ego is just like, I can do it. I'll take Bournemouth. I don't care.
Yeah. So I just
after the shame of everything,
things are going to be coming so fast that I wonder when you're going to have the ability to install a new regime.
Maybe everyone just stays till the World Cup.
I don't think it'll wait that long because there's so many games being played by that point, right? So if it's going to be 16. It's going to be 16.
How many?
Not by November 12th.
Our brain doesn't work. Like guys start getting fired usually in October,
which is usually 8 or 9. Right? You've got August. You've got the international break in September. You got an international break in October. Early. So it's basically 2 months worth of games. It's 8-9 games.
That's true. That's true. You're right. So
if you were to say if that's the number, then match day 9 is October 1st. So I'm saying
by the way,
3 weeks before
I am now shipping Potter to Aston Villa. That's my latest.
He won't leave. He won't leave Brighton in the middle of the season. He won't. He won't, and that's why
the Aston Villa team is so good.
Bullshit. That's why you love him because he won't leave them. He won't. He will potentially eventually.
But he's from Solihull, which is right near Aston Villa. He might be a fan.
He could have said turn.
Well, I mean, Dean Smith actually was from Aston Villa, and they fired him.
He was there for a long time. I mean, I know. It ran its course.
They're all now the Villa fans, of course, are lunatics. They're like, Dean Smith should have never got fired.
Yeah, right.
I'm like, okay.
Like it's just fandom is such a fickle bitch, right? Like when Gerrard was coming in and having success and installing Coutinho,
I was excited.
Everybody was like, "Hey, he's being groomed for the Liverpool job." And when we would say that, the Villa fans were like, "Hey, that's our manager. Don't you say that about him?" And now
I'm not sure now. It's so much luck. Like you really, like had he saved them in the last 10 games of the season, he'd have the Lampard narrative or the Marsh narrative. But because he saved them right away, he just looks like he collapsed. And it's like, well, what about the part where you guys were in the relegation zone and he got you out of it? No, that part doesn't count. That's new manager bounce. I'm like, well, you weren't even in the fight at the end. Right. So what are you worried about? But now it's like I think he's got 2 wins in 12. Mm-hmm. Going back to last season.
Well, that's the thing is that slide is where his tab begins, right?
Yeah.
So he doesn't get the luxury of having the slate wiped clean.
Yeah.
He has he walked into this season with a Bunsen burner under his seat turned on very, very low. Yeah. And as the dysfunction has sort of shown,
but he lost his biggest signing.
Yes.
He lost Diego Carlos. Yep. He had this whole thing where he's going to strip Mings of the captaincy, and this is my team. I got my new center back who knows how to play, and the guy fucking does his Achilles. Oops. Yeah. I still think, and this is my last take before we can stop with this thing, is just like Coutinho is a problem. If he wasn't a problem, why would all those teams not want him? There's something.
Okay, sure.
Because I watched the Villa game. He did a lot of like getting the ball, dribbled up into a corner, and then just passed it backwards. Mm-hmm. Like this kind of ball stopper, kind of like an Allen Iverson, a look at me, a Jeff George kind of quarterback puts up numbers, or Kirk Cousins, like these guys that look good in fantasy. They have concepts and names. Listen, Coutinho, here's where you're going to live as. You funded Liverpool. You did a great job, but you're not good. I know you scored the goal for Bayern. He's living on a name, living on a moment. I think that team doesn't function with him in the side because it fucks up Ings and Watkins and all of everything else, and it doesn't work. That's my theory.
No, I don't disagree, but there is evidence when that bump showed up when Gerrard came in, he was largely the driver.
But he needs to be off the bench. You don't have an answer, not playing all the time, because he fucks up how you play.
That's fair. And one other thing I want to talk about, and I mentioned this already, but like we have 5 subs now. We have games every 3 days.
People haven't figured out how to use it yet, honestly.
They haven't figured out how to use it, but that's not the point. People are about to now.
They better.
Well, because, for instance, and I'll use Tottenham as an example, I bet you that Richarlison starts on the left on Wednesday and not Sonny. And the media will make a fucking meal out of this. Because Sonny came off and he pouted. And it was mostly the fact that he didn't score. He didn't have that many opportunities. Well, in Conte's system, he's playing more defensively. He is getting those runs on the break, but he's also at the same time not as offensively minded as he used to be.
Yeah.
He is intentionally dividing some of his attention, which is affecting his output, his production on the score sheet, but not as a player, right?
Yeah.
But so now if you have 5 subs, you have...
I don't think anyone's figured it out yet, honestly.
But okay, you could use 4 of your subs and still have 1 left over for whatever else you wanted. But in Conte's system, where he has wingbacks and he has the wings, right? You can rotate the wings. You leave Kane there, and the wing backs, Spence, who looked good today as a sub role, Perisic, Sessegnon, Royal, Doherty when he's healthy, whoever these players are, you give them 45, 55, 60 minutes. It doesn't matter who starts. The other both know that I'm playing on Saturday and I'm playing on Wednesday, and I don't know when it's going to be, but I have to be ready. And it keeps everybody sharp. And you still have 1 sub left over. I'm not saying that that's the best way to use the 5 subs, but you could. Yeah. You could do that. So we'll see. We haven't had to worry about it yet, though. So that's the interesting thing about now the fixture congestion starts. We're going to start to learn how coaches are using this.
All right, Mike. You got any last words, any thoughts?
I want to say
I got one. Weekend. I just don't want to forget Haaland is a beast. Arsenal are top of the league. Liverpool scored 9. United are back doing their thing. Your team's the best defensive team in the league. The league is in really, really good shape. Mm-hmm. This is shaping up to be an incredible season. It's getting to the place where I don't even want any of the teams to go down, and they might. It's just sad.
Yeah.
One of our friends who's been here for a while will go home.
Yeah.
And you get the home version of the Premier League as a board game. All right.
Yeah, that's it we got for now. We're excited. This has been a great weekend of football, and now it's going to be a great week of football with pretty much Mondays and Fridays off, and then every other day of the week there's going to be great football on. And I'm excited about it.
Mike.
So
send me home, please.
Until then, let's go.
All right. That was the Squeaky Bum Time Podcast with Mike Salerno and Laurent Cortines. We are the football wing of the Chop Sports Network, the new and improved streamlined Chop Sports Network with the studio in Mawa. We record now on Sundays and Thursdays. Mondays and Thursdays, excuse me. So be sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcast so you never miss an episode. And if you're listening on Apple, please rate, review the show. It matters, and we'll put the link to our WhatsApp group in the description.